You know, a lot of people think they're going to, the back to eating garden method is just a quick fix that you throw some wood chips on top of your soil and you're just good to go from then on. Well, that's not necessarily the case. This garden spot has had hay, wood chips, cardboard, a little bit of leaves, a little bit of everything on it, and for the last 4 to 5 years. I started this, read a book called the Ruth Stout No Work Garden, I believe it's called. I'll put a link to it below. And she uses nothing but straw. Hay works. You got to be careful if hay's got a bunch of weed seeds in it, but hay's all I had, and hay works fine. But to get soil that looks like this, just a nice, rich, organic matter all in it, it has taken me several years. It took 2 to 3 years before I really saw a big difference. On the surface of the ground, you know, within the first half inch or an inch, that's something you see pretty immediate. Your soil begins to turn black, and but for my soil, let me just show you what I have. This is my soil underneath. It is hard red clay, and as you can see the little bumps in it, that is iron ore rocks. It's just kind of a gravelly clay. It is hard. It is horrible to dig into. It will raise a garden, but when it gets hot and that clay gets hard as a rock, it's just, you can't cultivate it, you can't plow it. I mean, you know, weed it with a hoe or something like that, get your weeds out. It's impossible. It's concrete, and that's what it looks like right there. That's a swale that I made, and that is just hard packed clay right there. After 4 days, still holding water. That shows you how much clay's in it. Okay, so my point is, if you're going to start a back to Eden garden, you can do it in the spring, but I'm saying the best time to do it, best thing to do if you're not in any hurry, is plant a garden somewhere and raise a garden this year. And if you can find some wood chips or hay or leaves, pile up leaves. One of the best gardens I ever had in my life. I did nothing but leaves. I would drive around town after work in my truck in like October, when the leaves started falling. People started bagging up the leaves. I wasn't about to rake leaves. I let somebody else rake them for me, and I would just go pick them up off the curb. The city, I'm sure, loved me doing it. They didn't have to pick them up. And you know, I would always drive up and I'd look, and if they had a lot of pine trees, then I would pass it up. I didn't really want pine needles there. But if they had some oak trees and any other kind of trees, and I'd look at the bags, and if they had a lot of sticks sticking out, stuff like that, I'd pass that bag up, pick one up that looked soft and spongy and nothing but leaves. But that's what I did, and what I would suggest is that you just start a spot wherever you want a garden next year, year after that, whatever, is start now putting your organic matter on, your covering on it, like the Back to Eden method says. Leaves, straw, wood chips if you can get them. This garden here is, I don't know whether it would be considered a Back to Eden garden now, because the wood chips are just about gone, just about composted in. I haven't put wood chips on it in about probably a couple of years. I hadn't even had any wood chips delivered in about a year. So, but this is what it did to this soil, from that hard clay to what you see now, which is just, I mean, it's just beautiful. So I do recommend the Back to Eden method as far as if you've got terrible soil. If you got good soil, it helps that even more. Bless your heart. I wish I had. But if you've got terrible soil, clay or rocks or whatever, and you don't think there's anything you can do with it, just pile it up with straw, with hay, with leaves. Again, I'm a big believer in leaves. I haven't done that in several years, but if I continue to not be able to get wood chips, I'm probably going to start making the rounds in the fall and picking up leaves from people's yards. Anyway, your covering is big. Your covering will change your soil. It has made the first 6 or 8 inches of this just pliable, just a beautiful compost, organically rich. And you know, you can see some of it. Wood chips down there, a few of them, but most of them have composted down and are done and have just made this soil. Again, I thought I've told you several times, this particular garden here probably had 18 inches of wood chips at one time. That garden down there, I know, had 20 to 24 inches of wood chips. And I just let them sit there. I planted my garden somewhere else and just let them sit there. I've talked a long time, but I'm just saying that Back to Eden is not a quick fix. You're not going to throw some wood chips down and all of a sudden you've got a miracle garden, unless you've already got great soil. And then they will retain the moisture, right? And you won't have to water as often, stuff like that. So it is good. I'm not knocking it at all. This Back to Eden has changed my garden spots. So anyway, all right. I guess that's it. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about Back to Eden. And I think we're gone now. We're gone. Look at all that good stuff. That is beautiful. I like it.